Welcome to the Chaos Sector. We return to the Matrix. Is it pronounced Kamala, or is it pronounced Kamala, or is it Kamala, or is it Kamala? Funny how this can become the center of a debate on CNN. What's new, right? By the way, what the hell is old Joe doing right now? Isn't he the current president? Trick question, but it's quite scary when the vice president and former president are being discussed more than the current president. And the last time I checked, Trump has never fallen up the stairs, never fallen off his bicycle, and has never just fallen down merely walking. And that's not even mentioning his inability to complete a thought, let alone staying on message. Old Joe has been a complete embarrassment on the national and global stage. He confuses percentages, he confuses names, words, numbers, anything that requires his brain to evaluate information. In other words, thinking. Old Joe is a walking vegetable. CNN recently had a panel debate about, well, nothing specifically. It was actually focused on race, but disguised as a so-called genuine debate about policy. Japanese-speaking Michael Eric Dice, Keith Boykin, Mark Lauder, Nancy Mace, and Abby Phillip devolved into a racial mudslinging contest. For some reason, we couldn't get access to the video, but everyone can simply search for it, so we'll just summarize it. Basically, you had Nancy Mace mispronouncing the vice president's name. The left continued to correct her, and it was deemed racist by Dyson. Gaslighting and projecting, a bunch of deflecting from key points and questions, and a great Seinfeld reference in regards to Harris's campaign and policies, an episode which was a show about nothing. No CNN viewer genuinely believes that Trump is somehow incompetent or suffers from any major cognitive decline. He is older, and everyone can see the difference from 2016 to 2024. Of course, he will have cognitive decline at his age, but he's still cognitively functional compared to old Joe. And I would even suggest he's in a better cognitive state than Kamala Harris as well. Wow. Harris's campaign was just exposed for fabricating information and claims, which is linked to the deception regarding the polls, as those polls that have her either up, tied, or even close to Trump are all fabricated. Especially on the economy, there is no way that Harris is even close to Trump on the economy with American voters. The campaign has gone back and scrubbed many of the videos of Harris discussing policies. And of course, she's walked back, or better yet, she's run back, the policies that she has proposed and even are currently enacted in this administration. Harris proposed to defund the police. She worked to bail out rioters who damaged private and public property. And this current administration condones the grab-and-go theft nationwide. In states like California, individuals can just walk into retail stores, grab whatever they want, and simply walk out the door as if they were normal customers. Gavin Newsom, the governor, allowed up to approximately $950 worth of merchandise to be stolen before it becomes a felony charge of theft. So someone can steal $700 worth of merchandise, and it's simply a misdemeanor charge. Harris has not been the so-called tough prosecutor in these cases, right? She's done the opposite. As such crimes of this manner, Harris is willing to bail them out of jail. But the reason Harris doesn't have policies on her website is because they are trying to figure out what policies she can copy and paste from Trump. That's why. The economy is Trump's advantage. The border is Trump's advantage. Even energy is Trump's advantage. These are the three major issues the voter cares about. And we also add foreign relations and policy. She seems completely oblivious when it comes to foreign relations and policy. Trump has been there, done that, gained a relationship with world leaders. Some like him, some don't. But he was able to essentially neutralize foreign adversarial tensions. Harris decided to skip a congressional speech from the Prime Minister of Israel. I mean, that proves she is not cut out for the job. It was a horrible representation of leadership on the global stage as the vice president decides to disregard that important speech. This entire administration has been an embarrassment on the global stage. And then going back to the rioting. Trump also has the support from the military, law enforcement, while Harris is known for bailing criminals out of jail. No matter how the mainstream media tries to sprinkle magic pixie dust over the American people, they do not approve of mass violence from riots and protest, which lead to extreme dangers and damages in communities across the country. Old Joe and Harris did not enforce the law. Rather, they enabled more violence and criminal activity, just like most Democratic mayors and governors did during that time frame. And one of those governors has been selected as Harris's running mate. Birds of a feather flock together, my friends. Now, how can Walz, who is pro-protest and riots and looting, and a vice president in Harris, who didn't condemn any of it but provoked it by bailing criminals out of jail for these crimes, how in the world can this potential administration propose any policies that will be tough on crime? They made it worse, but, the magic pixie dust works wonders. If she can't propose anything in these areas without looking like she's riding Trump's coattail, what exactly can she propose to the American people that is significant to gain their support? A show about nothing, because it's always been about nothing. You had The Walking Dead and Old Joe. You had a vice president who was also missing in action, selected because she was a black woman, by Old Joe's own admission. I mean, if there was something beneficial to the American people, her website would be full of these policy proposals. It's empty, because this administration was empty. It was simply created to be the opposition to Trump, not to actually help the American people. And it's not a joke, my friends. Her campaign website looks more like a GoFundMe page rather than a campaign website. The first page that pops up when you visit the website is this: donate. Donate for your chance to meet Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz, your hotel stay, and an opportunity to get a photo with Kamala and Tim on us. Donate any amount for your chance to win. Win what exactly? A freaking photo with a failed vice president and a self-proclaimed socialist maniac. Who the hell would want to waste money? Wait, there are people who would do it. But look at the amounts they have. The audacity of Harris to approve of this, it shows how self-centered she is. Because those donations go where exactly? To the staff and other individuals associated with her campaign. It doesn't go to a charity. Oh yeah, way to look out for the children. Pathetic. Then we have the homepage, which is just as bad. No policy section, no declaration of integrity, absolutely nothing. Only asking for donations and even selling merchandise. Let's dig a little deeper since we've looked into this. Oh, there's a page titled Meet Vice President Kamala Harris. Who is meeting Kamala Harris? She's currently the fucking vice president. Everyone in the goddamn country knows who she is. They know her background. What the hell is this? I'm getting pissed off. You know what this is? This is the ultimate gaslighting, attempting to introduce the actual vice president of the United States, yes, at this very moment, as a new presidential candidate that many have not heard of. Wow, this is madness. Don't even have to quote Meet Tim Walz because his whole life is a lie. But let's take a look at the upcoming events for this demented duo. Oh, look here. They are holding a virtual community event for Black voters for Harris and Walz. Oh, okay, it's even pinned as one of the highest priorities. Now, we all know it's not one of the highest priorities, because there hasn't been any policies Harris has proposed up to this point in her campaign, and she hasn't proposed any policies as vice president, which she is still holding. Let me guess, the average age range for those Black voters will be from 18 to 24, the very age range that Harris called stupid in the past. And they're selling merchandise. Oh yeah, gotta get those stupid young people in cool threads, You would think someone who fell on her face in 2019 after being obliterated would take her presidential hopes more seriously this time around. In fact, she holds the second highest seat in office as the vice president. Take your campaign seriously. The campaign website can have all of that stuff. It's fine. But if there isn't a section on the website that provides potential voters with your goals, your plans, your expectations, your freaking policies, how can they be sure their views and plans for the country align with yours? And it's fitting, because Harris stated that the voters have to wait and see what she will do once she becomes president. That translates to, I'm doing absolutely nothing for America, but help to destroy it. On the flip side, we already know Trump's campaign website has his policies front and center. Trump has actually done what he proposed in the past, while Harris is literally bluffing on what she will do as president. This is horrible, but then again, CNN thinks otherwise. Oh my days? And that's why there's not one interview Harris has had. She has nothing to say of substance. But let CNN tell it. She's the perfect candidate for the job. A ban on price gouging? Are you kidding me? First of all, how would Harris regulate the private sector to prevent price gouging? How do you determine if there is price gouging or if the prices are due to inflation? Yes, listen. Harris is not proposing this, my friends. Her financial advisors are the ones who proposed this. And let's be honest, this is about trying to make everything that this administration did go away. Let me explain. The spending was outrageous, which led to inflation, which led to higher prices, which led to many Americans unable to cover spending budgets. What the Harris team is trying to do is hide the inflation that she had a role in creating behind the alleged price gouging. So it gives the illusion that Harris is bringing down prices, but we're talking about the private sector, and their businesses are suffering due to inflation. So good luck on regulating the private sector and forcing them to lower their prices. Yeah, doesn't that sound like some sort of dictatorship? Oh, we're going to tax this business because your prices are too high. You can't do that, even if their prices are high. They have the right to charge whatever they want, because guess what? The consumer doesn't have to spend money at that business. That's the extreme example. But you get the point. If Harris was so concerned about price gouging, meaning businesses are charging higher prices for their product, why didn't she think about some sort of regulation beforehand? Because price gouging is a term used for inflation. Simple. And they think the American people are so stupid that they would see this as a beneficial policy she is proposing, helping them save money. The same money Harris and old Joe are currently burning through in everyone's checking and savings accounts. She's full of shit and saying anything to make it appear she's for the American people.
Yep, it's the classic pitching corrupt politicians throw out there. Have you noticed? Harris hasn't mentioned anything about the border. She doesn't have a plan, because it will be either in favor of Trump's policies on the border, which once again makes her look like a copycat, or it will be more of the same, which only shows Harris favors illegal immigration. She doesn't have an economic plan, because she is a part of the reason there is an economic crisis at the current moment. How can you propose to improve the economy, reduce inflation, when you are partly responsible for the current inflation? Price gouging does happen, usually during natural disasters. Convenience stores hike up prices, gas stations hike up prices, even grocery stores do it as well. But this is not what Harris is articulating to the American people. She is claiming that price gouging is happening nationwide due to the pandemic. Oh yes, the good old scapegoat for all the wrongdoings of this administration. Doesn't justify why this administration proposed an insane $7.3 trillion budget, which 90% of that was invested away from the country and its citizens. Yeah, let's just spend away. Doesn't explain why Harris has proposed a $25,000 down payment aid for first-time homebuyers. Doesn't explain the pitch for free college tuition. I mean, how can she crack down on so-called price gouging when she's proposing to literally drop a nuclear bomb on the US economy? Who the hell does she think will pay for all of that? Democrats honestly believe money grows on trees. Well, their philosophy is the trees produce the paper, which we then use to print our currency. So yeah, money does grow on trees. Think about the $25,000 down payment aid for first-time homebuyers. Let's give a small sample size of this socialism. You have 25,000 first-time homebuyers, that's $625 million in federal aid. But where exactly is that money being generated from? You guessed it, taxpayers. See, the federal government, specifically the IRS, takes money from the citizens through taxes. Then this money collected, which is billions of dollars annually, is then used for such wacky proposals. It is not money printed up to pay for home buyer federal aid. It's the taxpayers' money that is being used to fund such federal aid. And that is textbook socialism. Take others' money to pay for others' expenses. To some degree, this happens with Social Security. But the difference is you're paying into a system that you yourself will benefit from. In addition, you can actually pull from your Social Security benefits even if you're not a senior citizen. Know the law. Know your rights. Know what freedom is, my friends. And you don't have to be disabled. No, you can withdraw from your benefits. It's your money and you need it now. For that matter, you shouldn't be paying federal taxes neither. Because those federal taxes you pay, which is taken out of your paychecks throughout the year, is then given back to you in the form of a tax refund. Basically, the federal government steals your money, then tries to give it back to you at the end of the year. Oh, here you go, hardworking Americans. We're rewarding you with a refund for that hard work at the end of the year. You should thank us. And sadly, many American citizens are in fact happy when they receive those refunds, not realizing that money was stolen from them and then given back. And in some years, you owe taxes, which you don't receive a tax refund. Now, why do you owe taxes one year and not the other? Well, you better get familiar with contacting the IRS so they can explain why. Now, who does this hurt the most? That's right, the lower class. If a lower class worker is taxed approximately $65 in federal taxes each paycheck every week, this is 52 weeks of $65 literally stolen out of their paychecks. This is almost $3,500 stolen out of their paychecks in that year. That $65 could go to a cell phone payment, help pay on a light bill, help with personal expenses, help pay for clothing and transportation, dental and medical expenses. Anything you can think of regarding one's priorities and expenses, that money is useful. If anyone recalled, Barack Obama literally garnished citizens' tax refunds who didn't enroll in Obamacare. Oh yes, they had a database of those who enrolled and who didn't. And if you didn't enroll, your tax refund could have been garnished. And why was it garnished? Well, to help pay for the very Obamacare. Yeah, they offered an exemption to not enroll. But what if a citizen doesn't even want to participate in applying for an exemption? You can't force a citizen to make a choice about healthcare, meaning if they get injured, if they have dental or medical concerns, obviously they will deal with it on their own. That is the essence of freedom. It's your money and you need it now. But seriously, Harris is only showing that she knows nothing about economics. She didn't take the opportunity as vice president to learn anything about the economy, businesses, foreign relations, the stock market, and the global economy, but has the audacity to propose radical, ultra-liberal socialist policies that will hurt every American citizen, including the black and brown communities she so-called fights for. See, this is what will happen in that radical administration. Inflation skyrockets to doomsday proportions. Companies go bankrupt due to doomsday deficits. Unemployment skyrockets, in which the employer benefits will be depleted so fast due to the companies going bankrupt. The states will have to request federal funding to help pay unemployment benefits. And where do you think the money will be generated from if millions of Americans will be unemployed? Yep, doomsday. And those home buyers who received aid in purchasing their first homes, foreclosed, evicted, unemployed, and homeless. But, the government will be there to help out, offering shelters for residents and such, vouchers for food, cell phones, and recreational marijuana distributed out to the communities. Yeah, this is the America that a Harris-Walz administration will be.
Sometimes I wonder if these people actually have normal functioning brains. Like literally their brains have been, quote, enhanced with the latest AI technology that is linked to a motherboard that the globalists control in each sector of the world, this one being in North America, United States specifically. Dyson just said that Harris has been called a genius. That's not a word that comes even close to what Harris is doing or has done. She's not brilliant. She's not a genius, and definitely not articulate. There have been comparisons drawn to Obama, which is an insult. Obama was articulate. He brought a sense of sophistication to the Democratic Party at that time, as the party was starting to become bogged down with scandals, and of course liberalism was starting to take over. So Obama was, in fact, a breath of fresh air, not only for Democrats, but we can even say for the nation. But Harris is not even in the same dimension as Obama. And to make matters worse, Obama didn't endorse her, and was reluctant to do so when he did. He only did it because if he didn't endorse, what does that say about her image? If she didn't have the support of one of the most influential and historical figures in the Democratic Party. So, the endorsement was more out of pity as opposed to genuine support. Let's wrap this nonsense up. See, now it's fallen into where CNN loves to be. Race. Nancy Mace was being a bit candid. She claimed she will pronounce her name however she wants. Sure, we can all agree that perhaps that can be seen as offensive, but it became the main focus of this panel discussion, as opposed to a discussion about each candidate's campaign and message. And if she hadn't mispronounced Harris's name, which is a name that can be frequently mispronounced, by the way, what would the panel have to truly rebut in the debate? Nancy Mace is a bit blunt, of course. She told the director of the Secret Service in the hearing she was full of shit, so she's a bit rough around the edges. But that mistake, of course, came with a sly remark by Mace, and then the racial floodgates opened. Now keep in mind, this is the same network and panel, especially Dyson, who calls Trump, while he was president, all kinds of names. He did it in this debate. Racist, fascist, bigot, maniacal, narcissists, every negative name in the book. But because Harris is in fact being protected in this bubble of black woman victimization, you can't even mispronounce her name without being called racist. And let's bring back the main point about Democrats here. Dyson, and we can add the other liberal black man in Boykin, They are defending Harris and supporting her for president, right? So Dyson is voting for Harris to be president, right? Is it because she's a, quote, black woman? Well, guess who Dyson voted for in the last election? Yep, an old white man, Kamala, chameleon, whatever, ran for president as well. Remember Dyson? Why didn't you vote for that same black woman you're defending and supporting now? Could it be because you don't actually care about if it's a black person, rather as long as they're a Democrat? Well then, don't try to act as if you're supporting a, quote, sister for president, when you didn't support that sister when she ran for president in the past. And that was her choice. Harris didn't have anything handed to her. Isn't that right, Dyson? Didn't you respect her vision, her ambitions to become the first woman of color as president of the United States? Didn't you care about that historical ambition Harris had? Since you're always uplifting black women more so than black men, why didn't you vote for Harris as the Democratic presidential candidate? Why did you decide to vote for an old white man who not only insulted the black community, but has also had a history of showing, quote, inherent prejudices against black people? Now that she's being exposed by Republicans, oh, now you're supporting her. Oh, now she deserves support from the black community. It's pseudo-intellectuals like Dyson who intellectualize an analysis of a bird brain in Harris. Yes, that's her image as far as politics. Outside of politics, she's not so bad, but she has been vice president for almost 4 years, and based on her verbiage and expression of policy, she's basically a bird brain. Harris sounds unauthentic when she speaks at her rallies because, well, there isn't a patriotic spirit in her message, meaning her policies do not help American citizens whatsoever. It's bigger government, more inflation, and more potential turmoil with foreign adversaries, and also potential wars. I guess the reason for her fragmented energy and message is stemming from attempting to tiptoe her way into become a moderate Democrat. With everyone watching her do that tiptoeing, it's happening right in everyone's faces. What you are witnessing is a presidential candidate that is literally trying to create policy on the fly. In other words, policies, well, so-called updated policies, are being chunked on her desk. She reviews it, sounds logical, and they're spoon-feeding everyone with policies Harris presents as if it existed all along. In addition to that fuckery, once again, she is currently the vice president. She should already have policies in her bag. Oh wait, she did, but she's distancing herself from them, trying to detach herself from old Joe. Well, they eat each other in the Democratic Party all the time. This is just another example. Now, I don't believe this gaslighting will work on the American people, but put it into context. Harris, in her recent shedding of skin, denounces several policy proposals she advocated for, right? So basically, the scenario being created here is it was old Joe who proposed all of that, along with other Democrats, and Harris is more moderate than everyone else. Yeah, nice try, but see, you can't hide the truth, as there are too many ways to expose her in a debate. Let's say she attempts to gaslight the American people. Well, all Trump has to do is point out that if she is this revised moderate, then why did she choose a far left-leaning vice president in Tim Walz instead of Josh Shapiro, who has been known to be an actual moderate? The only reason she would choose Tim Walz is because he aligns with her views. Otherwise, if she was a moderate, she wouldn't pick someone who radicalizes her presidential campaign. Remember, she's trying to gain a lot of independents as well. Now you may wonder, well, what gives then? It's simple. The corruption, the conspiracy, everything that has been plotted behind closed doors is being revealed now. Black women wanted this political power, and unfortunately, because it isn't genuine, Harris will be the sacrifice for that attempted power grab. The politics don't match up, that's why. Meaning, Harris may be a woman of color, and some consider her a black woman, but that woman of color does not represent the majority of the black community, nor the majority of any other community of color. So, when she is destroyed in the presidential debates, it will reveal that, for one, she was a horrible vice president. Two, well, I know many don't want to accept this, but she was politically incompetent as that vice president. Three, she won't propose anything beneficial for the black community, which Trump will point out, as she showed more concern for illegal immigrants. And lastly, she literally will try to propose ideas or policies that her political opponent had already proposed. I think our audience is quite savvy, so they should get this reference. Does anyone remember the movie, They Live? With the guy who bought a pair of shades that revealed a alien civilization disguised as human beings. It was the 80s version of the Matrix, basically. When he took the shades off, they appeared to be normal humans. And at the end of the film, well, I guess the portal or whatever had been breached, and the alien's identity was exposed to the world. Even mainstream media was infested with aliens, disguised as human beings. When those aliens were revealed, such as actual human beings watching the news, they freaked out as they observed a freaking alien talking about the weather or some shit. This same freaking out is actually happening right now, with the left supporting gender-affirming care for children, drag queens having story times at elementaries, men assaulting women in the Olympics under the guise of being a transgender. I mean, the list goes on and on. That's the Democrats at this point. Their identity is being revealed. This is by no means in support of Republicans. Rather, the first to be revealed by putting on those shades is the Democratic Party. Harris will look like she was not qualified to even participate in those presidential debates, because she isn't. In conclusion, Harris has already been exposed, and if she wins, expect another election investigation. This is the chaos sector.